Right now, in this moment, you are certain of one thing, that you exist in a real world, a world with solid objects, real people. But what if the world is not something you exist inside of, but something that exists inside of you, not as poetry or metaphor, but as something you can see directly? Over a thousand years ago, within the pages of one of the most extraordinary texts ever written, a sage named Vasishtha told a story to a young prince, a story designed not to comfort the mind, but to shatter it. This is the story of Queen Leela, and if you follow it carefully, you may never experience reality the same way again. The text this story comes from is unlike anything else in philosophy. The Yoga Vasishtha is one of the longest texts in all of Sanskrit literature, vast, almost overwhelming, and completely uncompromising in what it tries to reveal. It spans over 30,000 verses, and almost every one of them is trying to answer a single question: what is reality? Structured as a dialogue, a young prince named Ram, not yet the hero of Ramayana, but a young man in the grip of genuine existential despair, comes to sage Vasishtha, unable to continue. He has looked at life and found it hollow. He has sensed that something fundamental is being missed, but he cannot name what it is. He tells him stories, story after story, each one a complete philosophical universe, each one approaching the same truth from a different angle, not to explain reality, but to make it felt. The story of Leela is perhaps the most extraordinary of all of them, because what this story reveals is what creation actually is. Queen Leela had everything: a loving husband, a prosperous kingdom, a life that seemed complete. And yet, there was a fear she could not escape. Queen Leela and King Padma lived what the text describes as an idyllic life: prosperous, loving, deeply harmonious. But beneath that harmony, a fear lived in Leela that she could not resolve: the fear of losing him. She approached learned Brahmins and asked, is there any way to make her husband immortal? They told her what she already knew: immortality of the body is not possible. So she did what the tradition offered in such moments. She turned to the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom. She performed a vrat, a rigorous spiritual observance, fasting for 3 days at a time, meditating, maintaining absolute devotion. She performed this vrat more than 100 times, and after 100 performances, Saraswati appeared. Leela asked for two things. The first, that Saraswati would appear to her whenever she called with sincere prayer. The second, that if King Padma died before her, his consciousness would remain in the inner chamber of their palace, somehow close to her. Saraswati agreed to both. Time passed, and one day King Padma dies. Leela covered his body with flowers. She sat with her grief. She prayed. She called to Saraswati. And then Saraswati appeared. Before
Before
showing
showing
Leela
Leela
anything,
anything,
Saraswati said something crucial. She described three kinds of space: Bhutakash, Chitakash, and Chidakash. Bhutakash, the physical world, the space of objects, bodies, distance. Chitakash, the space of the mind, where thoughts arise, memories live, dreams unfold, and Chirdakash, the space of pure consciousness, the infinite awareness in which both the world and the mind appear, like waves in an ocean, like reflections in a mirror. Your husband now exists in Chittakash, in space of mind. To perceive him, you must go beyond the mind. Saraswati then blessed Leela with the state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a state so deep that the ordinary movements of thought cease entirely, and what she saw there should not have been possible. King Padma was alive, not as a memory, not as a fading presence, but fully, completely alive, young, active, ruling a vast kingdom, cities, armies, people living entire lives. But here is what made Leela unable to move. This entire world, this vast kingdom, existed within consciousness, not somewhere far away, but within the very space of their own inner chamber. Padma was 16 years old in this new world. He had no memory of Queen Leela, no memory of his previous life. To him, this was the only reality, solid, complete, and absolute. Leela turned back to her own world, the world she had just come from. The court was still there, the ministers were still going about their duties. Everything in her world continued exactly as she had left it. Two worlds, both real, both existing at the same time. She became disoriented. Nothing made sense anymore. She looked at Padma's world and thought, are all of these people also dead? Why can't they see me? And Saraswati said, they cannot see you because you are not in the same field of mind. You are visible to them only if you choose to be. Then Saraswati did something unexpected. She took Leela backward, not into Padma's world, but back through time itself. She showed her where all of this had come from. In a previous life, before they were Leela and Padma, they had been simple couple living in a forest. The Brahmin's name was Vasishtha and his wife's name was Arundhati. One day, while residing peacefully in the forest, a magnificent royal hunting procession passed by. The Brahman watched. He saw the power and grandeur of the king, the armies, the wealth, the retinue surrounding him. And a desire arose in his mind, an intense, burning desire. When shall I be able to reign as a monarch? When shall I possess the wealth of an empire? From that day forward, the Brahman was seized with this desire. He continued his life. Time passed. He grew old. And his wife, Arundhati, like Leela, had obtained a similar boon from Saraswati that her husband's consciousness would not leave their house after death. The Brahman died with that desire unresolved, burning in his consciousness. And that desire, that single unresolved desire, became an entire world, arising from nothing more than a wish held in a dying mind. That desire had become King Padma's entire world. Leela tried to take this in. The world her husband had been born into, the life they had lived, the kingdom they had ruled, the love they had known, all of it had come from a single thought. And then the question that the story was always moving toward arose naturally. If his world was created by a dying thought, what was the origin of her world? Then Saraswati took Leela even further this time, not as the young king she had seen before, but as he was now. King Padma had been reborn as King Vidurath, ruling a vast empire. When Leela and Saraswati entered his world, he was 70 years old, a king who had lived an entire lifetime with the kingdom, a history, a wife. Another Leela. Saraswati and Leela appeared before him, and Saraswati did something extraordinary. She awakened his memory. He remembered being King Padma, being the Brahman, the desire that had set all of this in motion. He expressed a wish to be with his original queen, to return to being Padma. His current wife, the second Leela, prostrated before Saraswati and asked for a boon to remain the wife of her husband even in his future incarnation. And then everything changed. War arrived. King Sindhu invaded with his armies. A fierce battle was waged, and in the end, Vidurath was killed. Saraswati turned to the first Leela and said, "There is no mind, not in this universe. The connection you feel is a false operation of a dancing process of space and time, which is created by mind." And then Saraswati did what Leela had longed for. She allowed that stream of consciousness to return. The body stirred, the eyes opened. King Padma rose and found standing before him both Leelas. The text tells us that both Padma and the first Leela, through the grace of Saraswati and through the direct seeing that the entire journey had made possible, attained liberation, not through years of practice, but through direct seeing from the inside the nature of what reality is. So, what you just saw was not just a story. Let's step back now and look at what this story is actually pointing to. The Yoga Vasishtha is not saying the world is unreal. It's easier to think this story is saying the world is unreal. But that's not what it's pointing to. It demonstrates that what you call reality is an appearance in consciousness, not in your personal mind, but in a deeper awareness, what the tradition calls Chidakash. King Padma's world was real. Your world is real. But both are real the way a dream is, as dream has its own space and time. None of that is false while you are in it. What this story is pointing to is not the unreality of the world, but the reality of that in which the world appears. Now think about what this means. Bhutakash, the physical space, is not separate from Chittakash, the space of mind. Everything you call the physical world is experienced through mind. You never experience world directly. You experience your mind's interpretation of it. Padma's world and your world both appear in Chittakash, and Chittakash is not separate from Chidakash. The mind itself, with all its words, dreams, desires, appears within awareness. The Brahman's desire arose in awareness. That desire became a word. That word appeared in awareness, and awareness remained unchanged. Before the desire, during the word, and after it ended. This is what Saraswati meant when she said, "There is no mind." The sense of my life, my world, my relationship is not a fact, it is a movement in consciousness. This is what sages have always pointed to. Nisargadatta Maharaj expressed it simply, I am that. Raman Maharishi pointed to the same thing with the question, who am I? Not asking for a story, but directing attention to what is aware right now. And this is why a single desire could become an entire world, not because the minds create reality like magic, but because experience itself is already appearing as consciousness. The desire simply gave a direction, and what we call creation is not something that happened once. It is happening now, every moment, as experience arises in consciousness. This story does not give you conclusion to take home and add to your collection of spiritual ideas. It gives you a question to live inside of. Leela's liberation and Padma's did not came from understanding the story intellectually. It came from the direct seeing that the journey itself made possible. There is a difference, and it matters that understanding is something the mind does with information, but seeing is something prior to the mind. So, here is what I want you to live with. Right now, there is something that is aware of this moment, not your thoughts about what you just heard, not your reaction to the story. Whether you find it fascinating, or confusing, or beautiful, or difficult to follow, but the bare awareness prior to all of that, in which all of that is appearing. What is that awareness? Is it inside your head, or is your head, along with every thought, every word, every desire that has ever manifested as a universe appearing inside of it? You can't think your way to it. To find it, you have to turn the attention around toward that which is experience. This is what Vasishtha was inviting Ram to do, not with an argument, but with a story that pulls the ground from under every assumption about where you are and what you are, until what remains is what was already there. The awareness that was present before the desire arose. The awareness that was present when Padma's word came into being. The awareness that was present when Leela stood at the edge of nested infinities and saw them all arising within the one that she was. And if you want to explore this further, there is another story here about Adi Shankaracharya, where the same truth appears in a very different way.